Today, we're going to talk about the battle against the Dolphins and reflect on what Antonio Pierce and the Raiders showed on the field. It was a bitter defeat, but full of moments that give us hope. We're going to dissect every detail of the game, and at the end, I want to hear your opinion. Let's go! Early on, the Miami Dolphins showed why they have one of the best offenses in the NFL. Their offense came out swinging with precision, scoring a touchdown on their first possession and converting a field goal on their second. It looked like it was going to be a long night for the Raiders. However, the defense of the black and silver team was not intimidated. Despite the absences of Nate Hobbs and Jacobs Bennett, the group organized itself to contain Miami's early momentum. Maxx Crosby, as always, led the defensive line with intensity and tried to make up for the gaps in the secondary. That start was a reminder of how unforgiving the NFL is. A failure to adjust can cost you dearly, and that's exactly what we saw in the opening minutes. But instead of giving up, the Raiders began to rally to respond, showing they weren't just there to be sidelined. After the initial impact, the Raiders' offense came out swinging to change the pace of the game. Led by long, well-structured drives, they began to eat up the clock and advance down the field, taking the ball out of the hands of the Miami offense. Despite the good planning, the execution fell short of expectations. Both drives ended in field goals, a recurring problem this season. The lack of efficiency in the red zone left points on the board and prevented the Raiders from taking control of the scoreboard. Those moments showed signs of improvement under new offensive coordinator Scott Turner. But converting those opportunities into touchdowns needs to be a priority going forward if we want to compete with the best teams in the league. The Raiders' defense came out of the break with renewed vigor. They held off the Dolphins' explosive offense for a good stretch, keeping the game within reach. But they couldn't completely contain Miami's offensive talent, which responded with an impressive 97-yard drive. Even with the fatigue evident, the defenders gave it their all. Maxx Crosby continued to be a mainstay, but the absences in the secondary were evident, allowing the Dolphins to explore deeper routes and gain crucial ground in decisive moments. That combination of defensive strain and physical strain highlighted the delicate balance the Raiders must strike. More depth is needed to withstand intense games against high-level opponents. Despite trailing, the Raiders didn't give up. The offense began to find a rhythm, culminating in a touchdown that cut the deficit to 17-12. This sequence showed a team determined to fight until the end, even against all odds. Players like Davante Adams and Jacobs began to make a difference, taking advantage of gaps in the Dolphins' defense. The connection between the quarterback and receivers seemed more fluid, a positive sign under the new offensive leadership. While there is still a lot of fine-tuning to do, these moments of brilliance are encouraging. They show the potential of an offense that, if well-crafted, could be a potent weapon in the remaining weeks of the season. In the final quarter, the Raiders kept their competitive spirit. A touchdown cut the deficit to just 5 points, leaving the fans hopeful for a possible comeback. However, in the final moments, Miami's offense showed its strength and controlled the game. The Raiders' defense tried to force turnovers, but the Dolphins' sharp execution ensured they held on for the win. It was a tough fight, but Miami's superior quality ultimately prevailed. As Antonio Pierce said after the game, "There are no moral victories in the NFL, but if there were, this would be one." The phrase sums up the feeling of those who saw the team compete bravely against an elite opponent. This game was more than a test. It was a learning opportunity for the Raiders. The team showed that it can compete, but also that there is still a lot of work to be done, especially in areas like red zone efficiency and defensive adjustments. Pierce has emphasized building a culture of fight and determination on the team, and that was evident in the way the players responded to adversity. Despite the loss, there were moments that inspired confidence in the team's future. The Raiders' passionate and loyal fans are always looking for something positive to hold on to. And with performances like this, it's easy to believe that better days are ahead. The defense was one of the highlights of the game, showing resilience against one of the best offenses in the NFL. Maxx Crosby, as always, was tireless, pressuring the quarterback and leading by example. However, injuries at key positions in the secondary created difficulties. The absence of Nate Hobbs and Jacobs Bennett forced the team to improvise, and that was exploited by Tua Tagovailoa and company. These challenges underscore the need for adjustments to roster depth. To compete at the highest level, the Raiders need more reliable options at every defensive position. Under Scott Turner's leadership, the Raiders' offense began to show signs of change. The plays seemed more dynamic, and the use of key players like Josh Jacobs and Davante Adams was more strategic. Still, the lack of efficiency in the red zone remains a critical issue. Getting close isn't enough in the NFL. Converting opportunities into touchdowns is what separates the good teams from the great ones. That game served as a starting point for the new offensive coordinator. If he can get the details right, the offense could become a dangerous force in the coming weeks. Raider Nation is the beating heart of this franchise. Even in difficult times, the fans continue to support and believe in the team's potential. This spirit is what motivates the players to give their all on the field. With Antonio Pierce at the helm, there's a renewed sense of identity and culture within the team. He is building a solid foundation that could pay off in the long run, even if the immediate results are challenging. The future is still uncertain, but the signs of progress are real. The fight continues, and with the support of Raider Nation, the next chapters promise to be exciting. Now it's your turn to get in the game. Do you think this performance was a step in the right direction? Or are we still far from where we need to be? We want to hear from you. Like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss any updates. The season still has a lot to offer, and together we can continue to support our black and silver team with all our passion. Although the loss hurt, the Raiders showed that they have the determination and desire to improve. Each game is a chance to improve, and the support of the fans is the fuel for this journey. Let's go together, Raider Nation.